Today is Friday, February the 2nd, 2018, and last night Apple had what I would think was a very good earnings report, and the stock popped up to $173 in after-hours trading, closing after hours around 169. And then this morning, two downgrades appeared on Twitter to hold. So I wanted to take a look at those, and I'm using TipRanks, of course, to do that. So I'm going to go into TipRanks, and this is my portfolio. And I look at the Apple notifications. I'm seeing that Barclays and Bernstein have both this morning downgraded, and Canaccord still has a buy. Citigroup has a buy this morning. Maxim Group has a buy. But let's look at the two that are holding. Let's look at Tony Saganagi first of all, because if you were on the conference call last night, you heard Tony ask a couple of questions, and he probably wasn't very happy with the answers, because I think Tim Cook brushed him off because of the nature of the answers. And I think Cook was a little irritated the way Tony was driving to identify cuts in iPhone 10 production. And Cook just kept saying that it was the best-selling smartphone in the quarter, and gave him all sorts of reasons why he may be barking up the wrong tree. So let's look a little bit at Tony himself here. So Tony Saganagi is almost a five-star analyst. He's ranked 244 out of 4,756 analysts that are followed on TipRank. He has an amazing 70% success rate and a 22% average return per year, but that's with no benchmark. So that's pretty useless. Since the stock market has been going crazy overall, we want to compare Tony's results to the S&P 500. A little bit different now. He's returning 6.6%, which is in the realm of human and not superhuman. And he's right 60% of the time. But he's just downgraded Apple, and he's provided 104 ratings for Apple over the years. So let's take a look at his history. He's been a buy for Apple, and then today he's a hold. I did this yesterday with another analyst and found that last January he had downgraded Apple to a hold right before earnings, and he proved to be wrong. So let's just look more closely here. I think we can probably blow this up. We can. So let's look back. Whoops. Let's widen this a little bit. Let's go back to the beginning of the year. He's been a buy consistently all the time. He's had no hold ratings at all. He's been right 65% of the time, so he's been wrong 35% of the time. And his average profit on those calls of buy have been 12.7%. So he's really an analyst that you need to take seriously when it comes to Apple and other things as well. Let's take a look at his most recent Apple statement. So let's go into Tony here again. Let's look at so if we copied Tony's ratings since 2009, we'd be up 6.6%. He's a buy on about 3/4 of what he follows, and he has very few, if any, sell ratings. Let's look at what he had to say specifically. So let's go in here and let's look at what he had to say, and the fly is reporting it. Tony Saganagi downgraded Apple to market perform from outperform, stating after its Q1 report, the verdict is in and the current iPhone cycle is weak relative to expectations. Total iPhones sold are likely to be flat for the third quarter. He kept hitting it was either he or another analyst in the conference call yesterday that said, your base is growing, your number of phones sold per quarter isn't growing at the same rate. So what is that telling you? And Cook would not admit that that was a sign that sales were slowing down. He was still pointing out percentage growths year over year. And you know, he still continues to be bullish. So basically, are you going to follow Tony here? Or are you going to follow Apple? Let's look at the other analyst, who is Mark Moskowitz, and he's got a hold on Apple. Let's look at Mark. Mark is a full 5-star analyst, rated even higher than Tony at number 58 of everyone we're following on TipRanks. 61% ratings over a year versus the S&P 500, an amazing 12% return, just about double what Tony's doing. And he has a hold. So let's look at, and that hold is maintained. So wait a second. Let's go back here. Let's go to Mark again. Mark had been a hold on Apple from this point here. So right here, where is 118, Mark was a hold on Apple, and he missed, by not adding, he missed this jump all the way up to 177 and now back to 166. But he's missed all of that by being pessimistic on Apple. Nonetheless, he's a 17% return. But while everybody was in the buy camp back here, he was a hold. We would want to use TipRanks to go in and read his articles on why he's been a hold. You can do that just by clicking here. And you can read his most recent one, you know, the same way we looked at Tony's. So this is how you analyze or help to understand where analysts are coming from and how well you can take their advice. Right now, I'm a hold on Apple. I always hold the same amount of stock, and what I do with Apple is I balance my bullishness by selling calls. If I think the stock is going to be flat for a while, I'll sell short-term or medium, not usually longer than 21 days calls, and I will lower my cost and bring in much more than the equivalent of a dividend every month using short calls. Now I'm going to hold my shares of Apple through the dividend date and pick up the 63 cents per share. And I'm still going to sell calls. I'm going to sell probably 180 calls because I think Apple has the potential of bouncing back to, you know, the low to mid 170s, but I don't want to be caught by surprise. So I'm content to sit on $1 or $2 of income per share over the next 21 days by selling the 180 calls. So that's my thoughts on how to use TipRank for analyzing any analyst's ratings on a stock. Hope you enjoyed it.